Come and listen to this tale about a dude named Ted, standing there just looking at the tools in his shed. And then he got to thinking, just looking ain't no fun. Let's pick one up and plug it in and see if it'll run. It did. Pretty good, too. Now old Ted's a happy guy 'cause he's got a pretty wife. Figures if he plays it right, he'll keep that gal for life. That gal, her name is Beverly, and he's her hillbilly. He's sweet on her, she's sweet on him, they're happy as could be. She's Beverly, he's Hillbilly, he's Beverly's Hillbilly.
So I'm going to try to make, I've never done such a thing before. I years ago used to work with signs. So this is a sign, or a plaque I guess, I'm going to make for my wife. But the difference here is that I've plotted it with my old computer, still running on Windows 3.1. Look at that, graphics advantage. And I've cut it out of vinyl. And I'm going to try to find a piece. I think I might take some of that up there. That's some ash that I cut into lumber, and I'm going to try to carve it for our 40th anniversary. We've only got a couple of weeks to get it done, so I have this and I don't know, this Ryobi carving tool. It's got several blades, and I did a pen plot of that, and then I just tried to eyeball it onto here, and I cut that using that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a piece of wood that's big enough for my plaque. I'm going to transfer the vinyl onto it and then use the vinyl as a template to cut my plaque for my wife. So I'll let you see how that works. Over and out for now. Here's the next step in the process. I cut my plot that I created, and then I went at it, and you can see all the stuff that I pulled out of this piece of vinyl. I should have just got rid of it all, and I will. But that's the next step. Next step is to put a pre-mask over top of this so that I can transfer this to a piece of wood, which I will then peel the pre-mask off, and I will use this for a template to try to carve out what you see here in wood. Anyway, it's a very first for me. I'm going to try to show you yeah, what happens. Anyway, that was quite an intricate little design there with the rows, very fine lines between things. So it remains to be seen how deep I can cut that with my carving tool to see if I can actually reproduce it. The lettering shouldn't be as difficult, except for the fact that it's got some rounded edges and stuff. Well, if I can pull it off, I think it might be a winner. I hope she likes it. Anyway, I'll show you some more as I make progress here. Alright, now this is the make or break portion of the process, because this is the pre-mask, and it is wide and it is sticky, and in this case it's also old and brittle, so you can see it tearing as I try to get it started, and you can just about imagine how fun it's going to be. I had it all the way across, and it's because I can't hang on with both hands, so I'm going to make something to make it work. I'll get back to you. Alright, you may witness a fail, or you may witness a win. And I've set this up so that I can kind of get a hold of it with both hands. Whether it's strong enough to let me pull it off of there or not is another question. Oh boy. That stuff is old and dried out. And stretching beyond belief. There we go. Well, kind of, if it keeps on coming up there. If it would, if is a small word, you know, but it's got a big meaning. And I've got issues up at the top edge here. I think I had issues with this roll. See, what we've got here is enough here to cover it at least, so here's the way it works. I'm going to set that down there and stick it to the table a little bit and to the edge of that. Then I take my squeegee . There we have the piece ready to transfer to a piece of wood that I have still yet to dig out of my pile and make into something that I can use. But that much of it we'll call a success. I like successes. So I put my tools back in their old pouch and we'll carry on. I'll show you a little bit more. Alright, so you folks, if you've got the stomach for it, are watching history in the making. I promised that I would never likely get a chance to use this lovely bit of ancient technology. Well, it's not ancient. Anyway, it's older than I am technology. Saw's older than I am. But I ran this piece of wood over the table saw and cut as deep as I could in a couple of passes, and it only came to about here on this side, and this side is very rough. It was a bit of a challenge, and it came to about here, which leaves a narrowing piece down through the center that has to be cut. And, well, this is one of the things that love will make you do. Did I mention that ash is very hard wood? And there will be some aficionado out there that will tell me that I'm trying to rip cut with a crosscut saw. And believe it or not, I know that. Unfortunately, it's the only hand saw that I possess. This is going to take a long time. I won't bore you with the details. Alright, so I mentioned being willing to undergo pain for love, and it's true, I go through a lot of pain, but on the other hand, I am not a masochist, so I'm going to try this and hope that it has long enough blade to reach in there and do the trick. Well, it certainly is making an awful lot more sawdust. I hope it'll do it. I'm going to keep working at it. I'll show you more later. Well, you can see I made a couple of little changes as to the way I was doing things, because as you get a little closer, of course, it's pinching. So I put a wedge in. One wedge fell out already because, and you're going to witness this at the same time as I did, it's split in half. Is it perfect? Well, it's a long way from it, but I think you might be able to clean it up a little bit with my poor man's thickness planer. Man, I wish I had a thickness planer. I really, really do. That's something that's beyond my budget right now. But here's my thinking on it. If I can get those cleaned up and put that together like that, it'll look like, well, at least the top end of a heart. Can you see that? And I don't know. I'm going to keep working on it here. So I got 2 pieces out of it. It was a chore, but I did it. I'll show you more when I set up my my poor man's thickness planer. Alright, so I kind of have things set up here, and I've taken 1 or 2 passes. It's going to come up pretty thin, but that's alright because it's going to be a plaque on the wall. And this is the way this thing works. This slides this way, this slides this way, and in the process it takes it all down to a relatively smooth surface that can be cleaned up with a sander. So here we go, we're going to try it. Come on. Imperfections to clean up, but it sure is a whole lot closer, and all I have to do is just hit it with the belt sander maybe, and I can clean that up and make it into. And here we have the glue up. I'm not sure how the whole thing is going to wind up looking, but it kind of sort of has the shape of a fancified bum crack or a heart. I hope she doesn't think it looks like a bum crack. Anyway, and my design will fit quite nicely on there. I'm just hoping that I can make it avoid some of these, the worst of them at least. I may still fill them with something if I can find a light enough colored fill. So rather than bore you with watching all this carry on, suffice it to say that they're glued together. I've been sanding some on it. It's as pretty as, well, it's pretty. I can't think of a good metaphor for how pretty it is without, you know. Yeah, I've got some more sanding to do. That inclusion there with bark in it, and there I have filled both of them with glue. And in the big one here, I mixed sawdust in with the glue, some of it, and I've got to let that cure really well before I continue sanding. Well, I have it all sanded off, and I think that I'm going to be able to avoid the worst of the cracking there and here. So I'm going to mark where I want this to land. With my pencil. So that makes, sorry, I was having to use my eyes in places that I can't point the phone to at the same time. Anyway, so this is a technique that I've used for many years for locating where I want things to be. Normally, I would take precise measurements, but because this is an irregularly shaped thing, you just have to let your eye be the guide. And, well, I'm looking at that, trying to imagine it hanging, and I'm thinking that that's probably as level as it needs to be. So what I've done is I've put a little mark here on the paper and on the where I want it to be, and on the paper and where I want it to be. And I'm going to set you up in the tripod and try to show you how you fasten that down. So my trick at this point is trying to let you see what I'm doing and actually being able to do it while I let you see. So I think I'm going to have to rearrange things just a little bit here for my benefit and for yours. Now, are you still able to see? Kind of, sort of, eh? Alright. So here's how it's done. I'm going to slide that ahead because I'm going to put my belly against that. Can you still see? Well, let's turn you a little bit. Alright. And this is the way I do it. It's clean. No sawdust coming up, so it may have a chance of sticking. I don't really need it to stick 100%, but I do need it to stick well enough that I can peel the paper off the top, the pre-mask. So I'm lining up those two marks, and I've got it stretched between there. And there it lays, nice and flat with no wrinkles, no bubbles. Make sure that's squeegeed well down. Then we take a hold of the paper and we peel the paper off. It's not sticking really well, but that's fine. It's just a template. And unfortunately the bee did come kind of in a bad spot, but we will be careful when we do our carving. Let me just take you out of there and let you have a look-see. The bee kind of came in a bad spot. It's right over top of that. I thought I missed it, but it's hard to tell for sure. Everything else looks like it came in good areas. The W's a little bit in that piece of stuff there, but I think the rest of it is going to be okay. Just a matter of me being able to carve it now. I think it's going to be right purty, don't you? Alright. And see what happens. I don't know. I'm nervous at this point because I've never done anything like this before in my life. So, I think it may actually work. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing or not. I'm not very good with the left-handed bit. Well, I don't know. I carved out a Y. It's kind of a mess. You can see that it's a bigger mess in the camera than it is by eye. Well, actually, maybe not. I've got some thinking to do. I think I can take out the material quite nicely with that thing if I get more practice with it. But I'm not an engraver, am I? I'm going to have to do some thinking. Maybe while I'm out cutting the grass. Anyway, I got to think. I'll get back to you.